spend my life teaching and training, researching and writing, and I also coach and mentor a number of people. And my background is as an occupational psychologist. I work with organizations. It's always, I think, a challenge for anybody to listen to a program full of complex ideas, to participate in a language which is not their own. I had the great privilege of being able to speak in English, but everybody else had to speak in English and it was not their mother tongue. So it's always a challenge. And I have to say that I found the level of participation and interest and intelligence very high. Obviously, you've gathered together a group of people who are very competent in their field, together with an eagerness to learn. Sometimes I have to say it's a bit of a challenge that when you get senior people, they feel they've learnt it all, or they come with a mindset which says, I'll either agree or disagree. Whereas I found really quite a lot of open minds saying, I don't quite understand this, but let me work with it. Let me see if I can understand how it might work for me. So it was really refreshing to hear a lot of open minds, if you like, in the room, and being prepared to work with ideas and concepts that may be very different and may not necessarily work in exactly the same way in their situation, their culture, but be prepared to go with it and see where it might lead and see whether they can extract some value from it. So it was a refreshing and good experience. This concept of bringing people from around the world and different institutes and different backgrounds is an ambitious and so I understand really from your director a very courageous program, because you didn't know quite how we would be and you didn't quite know how we'd fit together and if we'd overlap and so on. So it was a courageous idea, but certainly judging by the reaction of the participants, it's worked extremely well. And I think the great thing about getting such a diversity of view is that you enrich people's thinking. I have to say, and I don't want to be necessarily critical of other institutions, but there was always that danger of an institution that has a faculty that is, if you like, a permanent faculty, is it becomes institutionalized, and that there's a particular mode of thinking, a particular way of operating, a way of teaching, and so on. And it can become a little bit sort of set and stereotyped. Whereas I think this idea opens you to a very fresh challenge from different ideas and different perspectives and so on. And I mean, it places a greater onus, I think, on the participants, because they have to kind of wrestle with it in their minds and try and make sense of these rather conflicting ideas sometimes. But nevertheless, I think it's a courageous program and it seems to have worked very well. I come to a place like this with a great deal of interest and respect for really what's going on here. And albeit I have another faith, but nevertheless I respect the fact that you have rooted it and is in Islam, and I think that has a great strength to it. One of the sessions that I ran was very much really about understanding our values, our core process. Where do we come from? What's the root of our being? Because if we're going to lead effectively, it has to come from the inside. It has to come from our source. And I think therefore the programs, whether it be on the basis of Islam or whether it be on another faith, each to his own. But nevertheless, I think having a spiritual base is actually a real strength to a program. And that's a program I think that sometimes secular programs rather miss. So I'm impressed, I'm respectful of it, and I think it's good.